This paper was presented at the JCT Traffic Signals Symposium 2023 in Nottingham, thanks to the support of AGD Systems, INRIX, Message Maker Displays, PTV Group, Simplify Systems, Smart Micro UK and TRL Software.
Just a brief update on the users group yesterday. There we go. I'll just give you thumbnail sketches about everybody's presentation. Beck started off with a presentation from a viewpoint of a relatively new user of MOVA. She's probably done more than a lot of other people, even though she still thinks she's relatively new at it. And she cited many of the concerns and challenges that we've probably all seen, but it's worthwhile just being reminded of them. She also made a plea for users to take less experienced colleagues out on site to show them what MOVA's all about, so that they can get a flavour for it and we can get more people involved in the system. Mark, speaking at what he believes would be his last MOVA Users Group, because he's talking about a phased retirement from TRL. He took us back to the origins of MOVA, and I was taken aback when I found out that the actual sort of main algorithm dates back to the very early 80s, to such an extent that they don't know necessarily how to break into it, they now change it. And he also looked over the hill to future developments around MOVA, and was I think quite taken aback by all of our deep appreciation for the work he's done and the good kick-in that he's had over the last 10 or 15 years. So, Chris and Tom gave us their thoughts on the need of potential modelling for traffic management works running under MOVA, and the benefits that can bring to the operation of a network. We think too much about necessarily the end product and don't think an awful lot about necessarily how some poor idiot's got to build it and then keep the network running. And they have ideas about how we should really be modelling that at the first stages. Jason stepped in at very short notice because Devram came up with a pitiful excuse of still being stuck in Frankfurt, and he outlined the opportunities for the new badge Umuvity. Did I say that right, Jason? Yes. Thank you very much. Here and abroad, with a fairly extensive history of controllers from the States and above ground detection. Right, that took us on to after lunch when Dan showed the potential for the Umuvity EVO above ground detector. And he was replacing loops completely on a site where detection had failed, and was seeing remarkable returns and remarkable output from a single above ground detection, which has a huge field of view. And feeling the presence of Dr. Playdell over there, we just made sure that these things will need to go through the Topaz system in due course. John updated us on developments within Swarco, including, and this seemed to be common with a number of the manufacturers, including coming in 2024, new controllers and a new Chameleon outstation. So we're now starting to see the legacy equipment starting to move on, and people realising that there's more tools that we need to be putting in the box, and perhaps the kit that we've got out there won't necessarily contain them all. Sam did his usual sterling work, showing us how to avoid unbalanced control on linked MOVA sites by showing a number of sites where you can avoid individual node dominance. Martin brought us up to date with the Unix platform roadmap, and he also took the time to go back on a number of issues that were brought up with the previous users group. Some with some success, some with not so success. But it's always useful when we raise things with partners and manufacturers, if they can come back to us to actually say, well, you raised this point, we've gone away, we've got this solution. Chris showed us how he'd used above detection. There seemed to be a theme running through yesterday, almost by sort of magic. There was no way this was planned on my part, I assure you, in as much as Chris is using above ground detection. He used it on a number of sites in Buckingham, and he replaced 48 loops with a number of above ground detectors with a very limited budget. But again, we're starting to see detection, above ground detection, now starting to come to the fore and be used in MOVA. Gordon gave us some examples of how SRL's Urban 64 was being used in installation of new sites, and he also updated us on the equipment development, making it even quicker to install these temporary sites for allowing for easy and efficient construction of final sites. Ian, who recovered remarkably from an IT snafu, where I went to his presentation to find it wasn't on my laptop anymore, gave us an update on the various team changes at Telent and the future innovations, including new controllers and detection, again, another manufacturer looking at that, and the recent acquisition of IDT, strengthening, amongst other things, Telent's wireless offering to us. One thing that Dr. Playdale asked me to mention before closing is that he thought that the presentations yesterday were, apart from being excellent, of course, but reached across and a little bit away from MOVA. There's sometimes a hesitance from some of you coming to the MOVA Users Group because you think that it's a bit sort of weird and new age woo-woo. Well, it is, but equally we do have different bits. The bits about above ground detection being a prime example. So, if you have never come to the MOVA Users Group, it's free. It starts off the run into JCT, so you can get warmed up in the bar as we did last night for the full stretch of things, and you should try and come along. You learn more, not just about MOVA, but about the industry as it is. But thanks as ever to all the presenters. For once, I wasn't sitting come June with my head in my hands thinking, oh my God, I haven't got anybody to do this. And in particular to the partners, not only for presenting, but for the fact that if it wasn't for the partner organisations, there wouldn't be a MOVA Users Group before JCT, because they contribute to pay for the hire of these rooms, pay for lunch, etc., 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 and we're very grateful to them. And that's it. No questions? Right. See you next year.